Welcome back to Inside Sources. Today we continue the conversation on the future of Nigeria. And like I said, we will be talking to new voices, especially in the polity. And today I have one of the leading young Nigerians in active politics, Adamu Garba too. Adamu Garba, you're welcome to Inside Sources.
Thank you very much. Mr.
As you will recollect, Adamu Garba ran for the presidency both in 2019 and 2023. And so he's going to be telling us about his own vision for the future of Nigeria. So I'd like to start this way, yes. Adamu, this is how I normally take it. If you look at where the country is today, right now, are we on course to that great Nigeria that many of us, I'm sure, including you, dream about?
Frankly speaking, when you look at all the indices, you find out that there are great challenges. Since 1999, when we started our democracy, when you look at the graph of poverty and also the graph of GDP, I think we started this democracy with about $160 billion of GDP. Now we are hitting $400 billion or sometimes even $450 billion. Yet the poverty graph keep rising because the population growth and also the rapid disconnect between the common man and the leadership system. So when you look at this, you see clearly that there is serious level of disconnect. The power is so centralized, and not just centralized, the economy is also so united around very few elites, you know, at the detriment of the larger society. So with this, I think there is a widening gap of inequality between the leadership and the fellowship. And this does not show that we are actually doing the right thing. Except maybe when you look at the new policies that the current government is coming on board with, where you have so many social investment programs trying to listen to the poor, embolden the poor, empower the poor. So perhaps maybe this could now bring about a breakthrough that we are looking towards moving in that direction. So much left to be seen.
Okay, yeah. Good. Yeah. So now you've opened it up in such a way that we can dig in deeper. So you talked about the gap of inequality. Now, so that is something that clearly is not difficult to, is out there. There's a stark reality, for instance, of the level of poverty in our country. Stark, you don't have to work hard, you don't have to look too hard to see that there is so much poverty, and it's rising. So what do you think, or what is your own, how do you think this can be addressed in a sustainable manner so that over the years we can begin to reduce the poverty gap? I mean, you ran for president twice. That's why I'm audacious to ask you that what is your own vision just dealing with the poverty level in this country?
Yes, when you go back to the making of the country from the origin, it was a Royal Niger Company. And from there, we now have several decrees, and it is an establishment of a group of organizations or people coming together to satisfy certain economic interests, not really political interests. The politics came as a harbinger to the making of the economy. So look at Nigeria as a business entity in itself and try to organize the entire social, political, and economic order in such a way that everybody became a function of production or consumption. But it was unfortunate, the country came in at the middle of the 20th century where production is what is in the high demand. And now we have moved to the 21st century where like 50% of the population that we have in Nigeria today are born between 1999 to now, within this century, 50% of the population. So we have large amount of people that come in the world that is driven by consumption, by demand side of the economy, not the supply side. But unfortunately, we are still stuck with the thinking about the supply side. Until we build factories, until we create this and that, we can't be able to create jobs. And the world has moved far beyond that. Consumption is what determines how we define how those producers are going to produce. So why can't we use this sheer power of consumption? It's called power of monopsony, to define the people or the countries we need to relate with in kind of trade for exchange for substitution. Because when you look at the reason why we have this massive inequality, 99% of the issues has to do with the skills our HDI is very low. So the propensity to produce by an average person that is graduating from university is highly low. Our entire education system is wired to satisfy colonial interests of teaching people what to teach, not what to create. So it's very difficult for somebody to graduate from university and create something. Very, very difficult. So since we are defined as consumers, now we leverage on this, our consumption power, to define our economic growth. For instance, you may decide to say that we are importing rice from Thailand. Yes, stop this rice producing in Nigeria. Let's import from Thailand. Now, what will we negotiate from Thailand that Nigeria has in number that they must pick from Nigeria in exchange for exporting rice from Thailand? Then we look at the economics. It's importation of Thailand versus what we are supposed to exchange with Thailand and production of rice in Nigeria. Which one is going to give us the value? So we need to look at these things, the cars we import, the dairy products that we import, the clothes we wear, all those things we can define the geography, the domain of interest, negotiate with these countries, import in mass, enable our productivity, then we now exchange. Sometimes if you create massive opportunity for Italian shoes in Nigeria, you give Italian companies the incentive to come and invest the factories in Nigeria, thereby transferring skills in Nigeria because they don't want to lose Nigerian consumers. So I think that's the fundamental gap that we have. And if we shift towards the consumer side of the economy, I believe we create more jobs than when we stay with the production, since we have gap in infrastructure. And there is no way, based on what I see, there is no way we can raise $1.5 trillion to bridge this infrastructure gap that we think is happening from now to 2050. Is very, very difficult. And by 2050, we'll be 450 million people. So how do you expect to do that? Yes.
I find your ideas quite unique, you know, I mean, so I like the idea that you have this kind of vision. Let's shift the argument then, or the discussion to so the relationship between the people and the government. Now, so I'll make my description, and then you just make your own comments on it. I think that part of the problem that we have in terms of government relationship is that there's a lot of insensitivity from the government side that the people perceive. For instance, people believe, and you know, quite factual to a point, that there's a lot of wastage in government. The prices that government even pay, you know, for the sums that they pay for goods and services, you know, are normally very high. The lifestyle, you know, the perks of office, the cars, you know, the convoys, you know, the fact that you know, every year people hear 5 billion naira budget, you know, just to feed and stuff like that. All of these create a picture of insensitivity between that the people are seeing from the government side, and that itself has created a huge distance and a trust deficit. What do you think about that?
Just, you see, the issue is both ways. The leaders have their own very massive level of insensitivity by amassing, concentrating, and centralizing all the resources to themselves. Unfortunately, the poor man also have the same problem of insensitivity towards the person that is leading and did not come with convoys and mansions and dressing so grandeur. You will go to your electorate, you know, after electoral cycle. If you don't spend much more than the next guy is spending, you won't come back.
And you have the experience.
Right?
You've been there. you have the experience.
You understand? Again,
has that happened to you?
Of course now. If you don't have what to say, you're out of life. So no matter what, people don't care about that. People, what they care about is almost everyone lives like Okada. So let me just get what to eat now and it's over. Once I carry my passenger and drop, if I carry you, I just calculate. So that's the issue that we have. So you go to a common man and explain to him his problem, he will carry it in his head and see you as a problem solver. The next time that another guy will bring 5,000 naira, now he'll forget that issue. Go and do whatever he wants to do. Then later again, spend the next 4 years doing this. So it's two-way. You have so many people that are sitting in the National Assembly or in the government. They decide to do the right thing. When they go back home without money, they lose their election. You understand? So this is a problem. So it's a two-way issue.
It's a conundrum.
Exactly. So the society reflects what is happening at the center. Most of those politicians are survivalists. They want to go back and survive. They want to continue to be in the cycle. So for you to continue to be in the cycle, you must have excess money beyond your opponent. And that is what encourages the selling. If you look at our budget, it's just a procurement budget. Everything we procure. So the budget is ever spent so that people can get from the share of the spending. And at the end of the day, everybody corners it. When you look at what they do with what they corner, it's not more than how to sustain my status and my office. If you take away that thing from them, I'm telling you, most of them will not come back. And that's the problem that we have. So there must be complete social, change exactly of the entire system. And for us to socially re-engineer Nigeria, we have to go back to that history of the formation of the country. This is many countries in one. We must accept that. Now it is a federal republic. We can make it just a federation without necessarily federal republic, with decentralized power to component units as the way it used to be. Like I saw some arguments happening that we need to go back to regionalism, the regional system of government. It is not a bad deal. When some people are agitating that they want to have Republic of Biafra, it's not a bad deal to have Republic of Biafra, provided it's going to be within the Federal Republic of Nigeria or within the Nigerian Federation. We have several countries that have done that. Even in the US, it's like that. If you go to Vietnam,
maybe not the Republic, maybe,
Yes, yes, not the Republic.
Recognize the nationality.
Exactly. They will not have defense. They will not have national security. Their airports, seaports, and co is going to be controlled by the federation.
Foreign affairs.
By the federation. But at least let them have their president and their parliament to legislate according to their local laws and customs. If people come back from Arewa, they say they want Arewa, give them. If people come back from Yoruba Nation, they say they are doing, do referendum, give them. Now we have to allow political power to be based on the identities of the component unit in Nigeria, and then centralize economic power. Because it is only when you centralize economic power that you get things done faster, provided you have right implementation framework.
Before you go too far, centralizing economic power, you said a lot of things that I want to follow up, but centralizing economic power, what do you mean by centralizing economic power? Because I'll give you an example.
Yes.
Now, because some of the things that you said, you're tending towards the idea of restructuring the country, whatever it is. Now, one of the things that I find quite unbelievable, is that when you see the 1999 Constitution that's amended and you go to the exclusive list. So I live in Ibadan, where I was born, I went to school. And I'll just give you a scenario. I want to start a business in Ibadan. I can register a company the business in Ibadan. I have to come to Abuja. I can't even register a business name in Ibadan. I have to come to Abuja. That doesn't make sense. Is that what you mean by centralizing economic?
No. Okay. We look at our strategic assets. In Nigeria, we have some strategic assets. Maybe oil is one of the strategic assets. Then we look at the minerals, contemporary minerals. Yeah, we have some deposit of gold in Nigeria. We can look at that. But the largest strategic asset we have is the population. Now, how do we enable them? How do we connect them so that they can buy and sell to each other? How do we ensure that the problem we have today in Nigeria, where it's cheaper to import from China than to import from Kano to Lagos? It's cheaper to import the container goods from China than to pick from Kano to Lagos. It's cheaper to clear goods in ports in Shanghai than to clear goods in Nigerian ports.
I want to ask you, very good exchange, by the way. But last question now: youth involvement in politics or even civic affairs is very civic engagement is very low. It's very low in our country, and if you look at the population, you made a reference to it earlier. The fact that we have a lot of young people in our demography, probably depending on how you categorize the ages. Some people say it's over 60, at times even close to 70. But for the most part, they are not engaged. A lot of them are, of course, they are young people. People want to find out, hey, what's going to happen to my life? Let me go and sort out myself out, which makes sense. But my question to you is that, so what has to happen for us to get young people more involved not just in politics, that's important, but even civic engagement beyond just the day of NSAS. That's when people come out. You know, in your view, you know, how do you think? I mean, if it's something that you've thought about, or if you have any thoughts around this, how do we get the critical mass of young people in this country to be engaged in civic affairs, you know, or politics?
Yes, you see, the problem is I actually moved around this country when I was campaigning, especially 2019, even 2023, going to areas, different meetings, inviting to different conferences to make some speeches and engage these young people. You find out that there is this disincentive, you know, for them to join the politics, because they see it as a strange environment that has some erected barriers, that before you can cross this barrier, maybe you might need to invest so much time, and they are more concerned about what they can get to continue to sustain their life than to try to invest in something that you have to spend a lot of effort to cross by. So they see it as a very big deal to join politics. And most of the times, immediately you join from your ward, you immediately become disincentivized, because if you look at the quality of the people that are living there, and when you sit in your weekly meetings or monthly meetings with the escorts, you find out that that's not why I want to belong. I want to be like Wizkid. Why do you expect me to come and sit down in the village and be having village meetings? So these are the issues. So we need massive awareness. As long as young people are not involved in civic affairs, political issues, I'm telling you, we will never get it right in this country. So what you are doing, for instance, with this program, Inside Sources, and so many of these kind of programs are actually what we need in Nigeria to enlighten the young people to understand that the future is actually defined by politicians. And if you are not part of the politicians, then you are not part of the decision making in your future. And whatever happens to you in the future, you hold yourself accountable.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Are you going to run again?
Yes, I think I will run again in 2031.
Okay.
Yes, I will want Asiwaju to lead Nigeria for 8 years. The steps he took, we need to give him 8 years to stabilize our country.
Thank you so much, Mr. Adamu Garba, the second for your contribution, for coming to Inside Sources, and I like your insight. They are quite brilliant.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you, viewers. That is another edition of Inside Sources.